morning.
Good morning.
Good afternoon, good day, wherever you are.
Wherever you are, whatever time of day it is where you are right here, right now. We're ranting.
Yes, we are.
So it's an opportunity for a radically affirmative new thought with Dr. Jay-Z. I don't know which way you are.
And no, for me, you're there.
Oh, yeah, and you're there.
Well, we could touch fingers.
Oh,
Ow.
Oh, don't hurt yourself for fun.
It's all good. It's all good.
Okay. We are in an opportunity to connect with each and every one of you in conversation and in dialogue so that we can have a radically affirmative new thought together. So as you join us, I see if you're watching on Facebook, you've got so many options. You've got likes, you've got loves, you've got caring emojis, and you've got that share button. So that button super helps us. Sharing is caring. And of course, if you're on YouTube, thumbs up. You can thumbs it up. Do you know, actually, YouTube, you can share things now too, right? Did you know that?
I didn't know that. No.
Yeah, it's like they're starting like a timeline or you can now share things on YouTube. Don't know how it works yet, but I will look into it. I know that I shared a post on YouTube, so we'll see. We'll see how that goes. If you are watching, and we sure hope you are, let us know in the comments who you are, where you're watching from. Do you have a thought or question or idea you'd like us to chat about today? Fill up.
Yes, reach out and say hello. I was going to say reach out and touch someone.
Yeah.
That was an old telephone book advertisement slogan. Reach out and touch someone.
Well, I'm thinking of like a song.
Reach out and touch someone. That was the jingle for the telephone book.
Oh, I'm thinking REM or someone. Reach out and touch, babe. No?
Oh, you're thinking of Depeche Mode.
Depeche Mode. There you go.
Violator album, one of my favorite albums of all time. Released in 1990. I went to the Violator. I went to the World Violation Tour and saw Depeche Mode in concert when that album was released. It was one of the best concerts I've ever been to.
Nice.
Back in 1990.
Wow. I've only been to a few concerts in my life because loud.
Yeah, I don't really
loud and a lot of people. I don't do a lot of that.
I don't enjoy loud rock concerts in the same way that I used to.
But I've seen Jan Arden in concert 3 times. And also Jan Arden when she in Winnipeg did the Vagina Monologues. So yeah. Sass Jordan, like all the 80s, late 80s, early 90s stuff, Bryan Adams. But they were outdoor concerts, so not as bad as like an indoor stadium. I can't do.
Yeah.
Good morning, Cindy.
Good morning, Cindy. Cindy's one of our glorious prayer chaplains here at Unity.
Oh, Tucson. Nice. Wonderful. So it feels like we should start with
I have a question. Actually, I have a question to start with.
Perfect.
Actually, I have lots of questions.
Yeah.
What is the rule? So let's I'm like, how do I formulate these questions? Okay. So we teach fundamentally the New Thought spiritual philosophy, right? Would you agree with that statement?
Yes.
We teach the New Thought spiritual philosophy. Can you tell me, please, what are the tenets of the New Thought spiritual philosophy? What is it we teach?
Didn't we just talk about this last Friday?
Always. The thing about ministry is that we are always talking about the same thing.
Same thing, yeah.
52 new ways to say it every year.
Yeah, well, for hands down, the number one principle that I focus on that I like is oneness. Oneness is the first principle that God is in all things.
Okay.
It is inseparable, and that means it's in each and every one of us and everything. Okay. Everything from the coffee bean to the coffee cup, it's in everything. So oneness, and from oneness stems all these beautiful attributes of divinity: freedom, joy, peace, power, presence. My favorite, love. And so, yeah, the boiled down, distilled, that's where I'm at. The
Okay.
oneness and radically accepting of our own divinity.
Yeah. That's, I think, a step that we are evolving into, because I think there's still a little hesitation in my experiences with many communities, and this is not meant to be a slight, or it's just an awareness. My experience of many communities and community leaders is that there's a little bit of like a pushback on true oneness and being radical about it. And,
Yeah.
and I don't ascribe to that frame of mind. I choose to be radically expressive of that oneness.
Yeah, radically, like radical self-acceptance is our mission, right? Our ministry at One Love, radical self-acceptance and love. When we can love ourselves unconditionally, it opens us up in such a way that we can see and accept others for who they truly are. When we can recognize our own divinity, we know it's in others, because there's only one expression of divinity, and it just shows up in all the faces and all the colors and all the rainbows, and it's life's journey is the sacred returning of ourself to ourself, of spirit to spirit. We are not separate. And so, yeah.
Great.
Oh,
so
dancing phalanges.
So that was the first question. So what about God? That's the second question.
What about God?
What is God? Because we talk about God, right? What is God?
I know, and it's such like I sparingly use the word God these days, because we misunderstand it. It's a 3-letter word that has such baggage or historical imprint, and so it's not about the word God. God is the ultimate, absolute, infinite, and eternal presence of life. It is life force energy. For some people, it's Reiki. For, like, God is the highest presence imaginable. And no matter how many words we use to describe it, oh my gosh, we're never going to fully know until we can feel a relationship with it.
Yeah. You can't articulate the infinite.
Yeah.
Because if you try to articulate it, you've now limited your construct and concept of it.
Yeah.
That's one of the things I always say. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I read somewhere recently, it was in one of my preparations for teaching the prayer class that I've been teaching with Reverend Ronnie Tretzvin here in Tucson. And one of the things that I read is that the Fillmores, who were the founders of Unity, Myrtle and Charles Fillmore, actually debated whether or not to use the word God, which I thought was fascinating, because I think there's a perception of, they were very much focused on metaphysical interpretation of Christian scripture. That was a large portion of, what they were putting out in the world.
Yeah.
And so the idea that they were having a conversation about not using the word God is really fascinating to me.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, the outcome is they did and would often refer to God, right? The God source energy of all that is, but really redefining it. And I always like to redefine it. Me and my acronyms, one of my favorite acronyms for God is greatness on demand, because it's an active, we're all utilizing it. Even if we are not in the awareness of our utilization of this creative power.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. It's not a being, but it is a creative power that is reflected as the beingness of all life. Yeah. That's what I teach.
Yeah. I am the vessel in which God uses to create through something, right? There's like everything is an inlet and an outlet of that powerful presence.
And I would say you're more than the vessel, because there's no aspect.
That's right.
There's no aspect of you that cannot. There's no aspect of you that is separate. And the vessel says that here's a container for something. Well, if God is contained within you, what is the thing that is the container? Well, it's got to be God too. So you can't be a vessel in this.
Yeah. My favorite was someone called me a divine flute.
A divine flute?
Right, because the breath of God goes in and the breath of God goes out. There's no separation.
Right.
And you make beautiful music in the process.
Love that. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was also thinking about sympathetic vibration. Sympathetic resonance, right? And there's a thing that can happen. Like if you take a tuning fork and put it on a sounding board, and there's another tuning fork on a sounding board nearby. If you hit that tuning fork, put it on the sounding board, the other tuning fork will begin to vibrate in what they call sympathetic resonance, sympathetic vibration, sympathetic, right? And when we talk about being the light, we don't have to manipulate anybody else, because if we are being the light, there are those in our sphere that will resonate and vibrate at the same frequency. Because that's the nature of things.
Yeah. So. I just pictured that in a physical form, like in people, this as sympathetic. How do you say?
Sympathetic vibration or sympathetic vibration.
Because when someone is grieving or is, has an energy, a low energy and enters into your space, and you're like, what's going on? And they share with you, you feel that grief too, right? You like, and you do something about it. I mean, good people do something about it, even if it's listening or a hugging, right?
Yeah.
And I can tell there's people in my life who aren't huggers, and I can tell when they are in a space because they say, Steph, can I have a hug? And I'm like, okay, sympathetic
resonance or vibration.
Resonance, vibration, resonance. I can see that, because, and I'm always talking about the physical body being a tuning fork.
Right.
We tune into our abundance, or we tune into our lack. Like we tune into these things energetically.
I think that's why so many of us also feel so comforted in the experience. Well, I say so many of us, I'm making a very generalized statement. I will speak for myself. I think, I think that's why I feel so, good when I'm in the experience of like a sound healing. The vibrations there. I love drum circles.
Yes. Oh, I love a good drum circle.
There's, it's a different kind of sound healing in a way. That is, active, as opposed to, allowing ourselves to lay back when we're in a sound healing that's very traditional.
It's like, it's a prime, like drum circles are like it's a primal healing vibration. Yeah.
And I think that's why I've always loved music, and, grateful that I've had the capacity to be able to make music a part of my life.
Yeah.
Actively, not just listening to it, but performing it. So.
Absolutely. Like even so in my kitchen every single day, multiple times throughout the day, there will be song. And it's usually like because I'm so present when I'm preparing my food. Like for me, preparing my lunch is a sacred act. And so it's generally at my lunchtime when I just am so present, and all of a sudden I'll just like belt into an operatic, never been heard and never will be heard again expression of sacredness. And then it's like, oh, these fries are so good.
Yeah.
Because they have a whole vibration around them.
Yeah. My husband and I, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We have 5 smart speakers in our house. And, when we are wanting to get, motivated, we will play music on, and it syncs on all the speakers, right? So we play music, and it just is throughout the entire house, and we just jam away and do what we need to do. So what's coming up for all of you out there?
Yeah, we know we know you're watching. We know you're watching. So let us see it in the comments.
Yeah.
What's coming up for you? Does any of this resonate or reverberate with you?
Right.
Yeah, let us know where you're at.
I want to get some tuning forks. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, I want to get some tuning forks and some sounding boards.
It's fun.
Yeah.
Casey is
Casey's vibrating at a resonant frequency of love.
Yeah. She is a nonstop purr.
Yeah. We'll talk about that. You know, I love whenever I see those videos that pop up on my social media feeds that talk about the healing nature of a cat's purr. That it actually, I guess there have been studies that say like it assists with the healing of broken bones, that vibration. And let us not underestimate the power of, the healing vibrations that we are all part of.
So when she tries to sit on my bum, I should let her.
Yes. I will
my
never
sciatic,
turn a cat away. I will never turn a cat away if it wants to sit on me. I always allow it.
Yeah. Well, every night she sleeps right in here.
Which is also part of the reason I was late this morning for you. Because I had a cat on my chest this morning. I was like, I don't want to move.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
And she's so loud. I have a lot of videos of her face and just full on purring. And the reason I have so many of Casey is because I have one of Finnegan, and Finnegan was my Buddha cat. She had a very short life. It was 11 years. And she was a white calico, and she every night of her life for 11 years slept on heart to heart. We slept heart to heart. And I have a recording of her last purr. And so once a year it pops up in my stuff, right? And so every year I listen to it and I remember her, and it just talking about it, I can feel right here my heart got warmer. Like as I was touching it, my heart got warmer. And it's so sacred that Finnegan lives forever now. You know, that energy, that love. If I was meditating, she was on my lap. If I was praying, she was on my lap. If I was sleeping, he was on my heart. Like we had such a bond. And when I got her, it was this beautiful, I'm just sentimental now.
Yeah.
We weren't going to get a second cat. We just got 3 puppies and Casey. But Casey needs a friend. And obviously, if you know anything about Canadian 80s culture, Mr. Dress Up, there was 2 puppets, Casey and Finnegan. So we had Casey. So we went to get my black lab, Heidi, as a puppy. And on the way home, we stopped in at a farm, and she could fit in the palm of my hand. It was an early litter. And it was like this outside. It was gross. She was super young, and she wasn't going to make it. So the farmer said, if you don't take her, she's not going to make it. And so that's all I had to hear. Yeah. And she drove home on my shoulder, and that was it, like from the palm of my hand. And she just was a miracle cat to me. Miracle cat to me. And her softest cat I've ever touched. And she almost didn't make it. Like, thank God sent me.
Yeah.
Because born in a barn, and just a sacred journey. And so everything, immortalize your soul, your fur soul family, right? Because they are here forever. All the ones who have transitioned in my life, they show up. I'm like out of the corner of my eyes, or just messages or things. Heidi, who's a black lab, loves to show up as blue jays or stellar jays and just yell at me.
Did you see this though? What Cindy wrote, that the auto caption typed out her last prayer when you said her last purr?
Oh,
No, I'm like,
yeah, that's beautiful. Sorry. Yeah, that's beautiful. Yeah, way to go, autocorrect.
Yeah.
Yeah, we called her whole life, we called her the Buddha cat.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because she was this big when we got her, but it didn't take long for her to be a 20-pound cat. Like
Oh my gosh.
we fed her good. Yeah.
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 Like in her last 5 years, she was at 20. She was a big cat.
Mhm.
So I was like, oh, I understand weighted blankets.
Oh,
Because
totally.
I had a 20-pound cat laying on me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
And Casey wasn't that person, or that kind of cat. Well, Finnegan was here. Casey would be sleeping somewhere else. She loved to cuddle with Finnegan, no problem. And then our first night without Finnegan, Casey was on my chest.
Yeah.
And she knew, she's like, okay, I know my role now. And so now, since then, it's been like, it was 2020 when Finnegan passed. So it's been 5 years. Holy man. It's been 5 years.
It's been 5 years.
And so now Casey's like, always sleeps on the bed, purring.
Yeah.
He just jumps up and instantly starts purring. So, yeah. And I think, when you say like a new thought or God, it's like that. Having a deep connection with life and being present for the things that are in your life. And fur babies for me are little pockets of God joy. Yeah. And I've tried living without them. It doesn't work for me.
Our fur baby, well, we have 2 fur babies. We have Jimmy, who's 14-year-old orange tabby cat.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I said, he was on my chest this morning. And that's new. He used to not want to be on people until his brother went to the Rainbow Bridge in January. And now he's the one feline left, and he's really cuddly with me now. Yeah. And me, like, he's cuddly with me.
Yeah. He's
not really cuddly with anybody else. But then, we also have our 70-pound, 8-month-old golden retriever he's a handful, and he's so loving, and I don't know what I would do. I don't want to live my experience of this life without my fur babies.
Yeah. I totally get that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's important, right, to just be whatever you're connected to. It doesn't even have to be a fur baby to feel that this level of experience. Like there's sometimes hobbies. Like I know my dad feels the same way about his guitars as I do about my cats, right? Like some of his guitars he's made with his own hands. And it's such a huge part of his life. It used to be model railroads, so like whatever it is where you can find joy and lose time.
I think
you're in the divine for sure.
Yeah. I think one of the things is to start to when we start to recognize everything as divinity, then we begin to live from the point of view that everything is a divine experience, and we don't differentiate one experience from another from the awareness of that divinity. And that for me is how I would define a healed life. Because, the way we teach healing is that it is the revealing of the divinity at the core of all experiences. And so every experience is the flow of divinity. And some of those experiences feel good. Some of them may not feel good. That's part of this journey. I think about what do I think about all the time, Steph? All the time, without fail. So I bring it up in every conversation. But I think about the Camino.
Yeah.
All the time.
All the time. Yeah, for sure.
By the way, we're starting to put together a Camino club here at Unity of Tucson. And one of the things that we're going to talk about as a club is whether or not we want to create a tour group to go walk the last 100 kilometers of the Camino sometime next year. So I'm excited about that as a possibility.
Nice.
But it was very easy when I was out walking every day, when I walked the Camino, to recognize and affirm and, live from the point of view that this was a God experience. Even in the soreness of the feet and the challenge of the physical expression of walking almost 500 miles, it is a God experience. But that does not mean that the rest of my life isn't a God experience. And I think sometimes we're so desperate to like reach out and like find the experience that is going to feel like the God experience, that we forget that right where we are, let us acknowledge that right where we are, irrespective of the circumstances in which we may find ourselves, we are living the God experience all the time.
Yeah.
And how does that shift our way of thinking? And in the shift of the way of thinking, what happens is the experience transforms itself to align in equal measure to what's happening in our thoughts. I mean, that's fundamental new thought.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. Absolutely.
And so I think the encouragement today, as I'm like thinking through this right in this moment, is to really encourage everyone within the sound of my voice and beyond, really start to acknowledge that every moment is a God moment. Every moment of experience is a moment of God experience. And none of it is separate from. None of it.
Yeah.
Even if, like I say, even if it doesn't feel so good, acknowledge it as a God experience.
Yeah. Yeah. God in me, as me, with me, for me. I used to joke all the time. I'm like life is short. Give God a good time. Like if God is living itself through my existence, then it should be my pleasure to create joy and laughter and peace and loving kindness and generosity, like all of these things that make us feel good. That's allowing the God feelings to express themselves through us. That's the joy of it. And like you said, like in my philosophy, it's God is in the sticky and the sweet. I say this all the time, the sticky and the sweet. And I am who I am today because of how deliciously sticky all of that stuff was. Because it has fortified the foundation of my faith and my authenticity and my vulnerability and my expression. So all of that, right? And yeah, give God a good time.
Yes.
Yeah.
What if we took that on as our responsibility on a daily basis to give God a good time?
Yeah.
How might that transform our lives?
Yeah. I was just thinking, like, just what if you're the babysitter of the light within you? Like you want to make sure that you're getting healthy snacks, you've got activities to do that are going to be both uplifting, educational, maybe even transformative, right? So we have this beautiful possibility within us. I don't know, maybe I don't want to be the babysitter of the light within me, but certainly I can be the guardian and facilitator of a good time.
Absolutely, you can.
Yeah, because babysitting also means you have to clean up stuff, like the time I was a nanny for a young girl who got grape gum stuck right in the front of her hair. Like that's
Ooh. That's tough.
Yeah. So I learned right quick. You freeze it. Or you use peanut butter. Like I know the weird things will help, but yeah.
Grape gum.
And I didn't give her grape gum.
I guess I don't go into those aisles anymore, but do they even still make grape gum?
It was Bubblicious. Yeah. No, it was not mine. She found gum somewhere.
Yeah.
And put it in her mouth.
Okay.
And, giving God a good time.
That's right. Giving God a good time. You know what? That's a song right there.
Yeah.
I think you should write that song. I'm giving God a good time.
I'm giving God a good time.
Yeah.
I am one with the divine, feeling free, just being me. Yeah, sure.
Make it so.
Oh, so I'm noticing our audience is quite quiet today.
They are quiet today. Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong. We're just being pensive.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
Tucson, Penson. Yeah. I'm trying to learn French. I'm on day 914, but I don't know much.
Right. Well, I think unless you're immersed in it and you're using it, you're forced to use it every day. That's what I have found with language. When I went to Spain, my Spanish got better while I was there. Mm-hmm. Whatever got better, I have lost since I've been back here because I'm not forced to use it all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Immersion. That's I think how language.
Yeah. I think I need a European trip and hang out in France for a little bit. And
well, although my intention is that it really is going to be a Spain trip this time. If you want to be part of the Unity of Tucson Camino Club, you could join with us next year.
Oh my God, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
That would be amazing. Yeah. Well, I can switch from French to Spanish.
You might find Spanish actually easier. I think Spanish in relationship to English is easier to learn than French.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I take that for granted because I grew up in Southern Arizona, so I'm surrounded by Spanish down here all the time. I can I can translate street names like nobody's business.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a street called Camino Sin Nombre that I pass sometimes. When I'm driving over, when I'm driving over there, like anybody knows what that means. But there's a street sign that always catches my eye because it's Camino Sin Nombre, which means street without a name, or the way without a name.
Yes.
It's the no-name street. How fun.
It's the no-name street.
Yeah.
On a horse with no name.
And what was the history around that being called Camino Sin Nombre, right?
Mm-hmm.
Streets typically have historical reasons why they're called what they're
mm-hmm.
called.
Mm-hmm.
So, I find that fascinating.
Well, here in Winnipeg, Manitoba, mm-hmm. A new thing is happening all over this city where colonial named streets or colonized names mm-hmm. are being turned into indigenous names.
Beautiful.
And so, people get to learn how to say indigenous words like in Ojibwe and Cree and Dene, mm-hmm. and learn how to be in a place of truth and reconciliation and at the same time.
Yeah. When I was way back in the day, this is going to be 1995. The summer of 1995, I spent that summer. Wow, 95. That was 30 years ago.
I graduated high school.
30 years ago. I spent the summer in Farmington, New Mexico, doing outdoor summer theater. And the show I was doing, I was playing a missionary who it was a very loose historical drama musical. And I was playing this missionary who was engaged with the indigenous people of the area, and anyway, I don't need to go into the whole story. But part of my introduction is I come running on stage, and the pioneers of the colonists were mm-hmm. Very wary of my presence. And I start telling them a story, and part of the story I tell is that I had to, I was running away from the indigenous people, but I was able to, encourage their, how did I put it? It was basically encourage their trust in me by speaking the Lord's Prayer in their language. And then mm-hmm. I proceeded to speak the Lord's Prayer in Navajo. I had to learn how to speak the Lord's Prayer in Navajo. I don't really remember any of it now. It was 30 years ago.
Yeah.
But, trying to master the articulation of sounds that we do not use in English language. It was really an interesting experience.
Mm-hmm.
And the indigenous people who were part of the cast, I think would always laugh at me because, my pronunciation was so bad. They would just step back and go, this white boy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I just remember there's a sound that you make. So if you were to make the sound like an L, right? If you put you put the tip of your tongue back behind your top teeth, right?
Oh.
So if you don't vibrate the vocal folds, so you're not making sounds with the vocal folds, and you basically just blow out, which is different from shh. That's actually a sound that's used in the Navajo language. And I had to really work on mastering that sound because if I went just shh, it was not the same word.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway. Syntax. Yeah.
I've gone off on a tangent. Most of this day that once upon a time, I knew the Lord's Prayer in Navajo. That was really the whole point of that. I actually have a video of it somewhere. I should try and pull out that video and see,
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That would be hilarious. Yeah. Yeah. Well, if we're done ranting.
Are you done ranting?
I don't know. Do we have more? It's a very shy day today.
It is a shy day. Well,
there's 10 people. Ooh. 10 people watching. So let's see some comments.
I'm just going to open up random. Here we go.
Yes.
Random. How about this? Maybe, well, I feel like this is what we've been talking about. I'm going to open up to a different random page.
It's still going to be what we're talking about.
Always.
It's all one thing.
Actually, this is kind of an interesting. So I'm going to preface this, what I'm about to read. I'm going to preface this by saying, let us keep in mind that New Thought, the New Thought spiritual philosophy, irrespective of whether it was the articulation through unity or divine science or religious science, all which fall under the umbrella of New Thought. New Thought was never meant to be a religion.
Right.
Never meant to be, constructed in churches. And so I just want to preface this because I have this highlighted in this book. And just hear this. Many churches require members upon consecration of membership to solemnly promise that they will, for all their lives, continue to believe the doctrines of their particular sect. This is what Jesus wanted to prevent. Actually, if a person prays regularly and works to make their prayer experience real, they should grow in understanding. Certainly, they cannot go on holding exactly the same views as the years pass. Such a promise must surely mortgage their future of spiritual unfoldment, leading to the unforgivable sin. The unforgivable sin is simply the closed mind, the mind that is made up that will not let spirit reveal new truths. That, I think, is so important to the way that I approach New Thought, the New Thought spiritual philosophy, and how I present the New Thought spiritual philosophy. I say every Sunday, I know I've said this a million times here, I say every Sunday, I'm not here to tell you what to believe. I'm not here to tell you what to think. That is your responsibility. Here's the tenets of the philosophy that work for me. But there are times when I've also said, if these tenets do not work for me at some point and something else comes along that works better for me, I will quickly abandon the tenets of this philosophy for what works. I don't know. Since I opened to that page, I was like, I think that's how we differentiate ourselves from very traditional church environments, is that we are not here to force anyone to believe anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have an indoctrination hammer or mallet, and I'm just like, I'm not here for that. I will lovingly have open conversations about all of it.
Mm-hmm.
But because from my past experience, when I tried to control other people's thinking, it never worked out for me.
Oh my gosh, no.
It never works out. So we can end all suffering. We can end all suffering when we stop trying to change other people.
Mm-hmm.
And so the philosophy that I have found allows me to be me and everyone else to be them. It supports me in the adventure of unconditional love, because I believe that now, and here's my preface. I don't have to like you, but I will love you.
Mm-hmm. There is a quote that is coming, like, I have to go. I'm going to go find it.
Awesome.
It's an Emerson quote, but I want to make sure that I'm quoting it correctly.
Hey, Terry, love the rant. We love you too. Oh man. Hey,
Here we
Angela.
go.
Yeah.
It's in Emerson's essay on self-reliance.
Oh, my favorite. My favorite. I love self-reliance. I love it.
Trust thyself. Every heart vibrates to that iron spring. Accept the place the divine providence has found for you, the society of your contemporaries, the connection of events. Great ones have always done so and confided themselves childlike to the genius of their age, betraying their perception that the absolutely trustworthy was seated at their heart, working through their hands, predominating in all their being. And we are now, so he's using gendered language. We are now men and must accept in the highest mind the same transcendent destiny. And we are now expressions of humanity.
We are now adults.
Yeah. We are now adults and must accept the highest mind, must accept in the highest mind the same transcendent destiny, and not minors in a protected corner, not cowards fleeing before revolution, but guides, redeemers, and benefactors, obeying the almighty effort and advancing on chaos and the dark. Yeah.
Yes.
He had a way with words, that Emerson.
Mm-hmm.
But that first line, trust thyself.
Trust.
Every heart vibrates to that iron string. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. Wake Up today was, on solid ground, talking about faith. If you will never have more or less faith. It's what you have faith in. And so have faith in yourself. Have faith in yourself. Mm-hmm. Know how far you have come.
How do you define faith?
A knowingness, like a divine certainty that has, at all odds, might not look reasonable, but I don't know. I've never been asked to define faith. I know there's that quote.
You've never been asked to define faith?
No.
I ask my students that frequently.
It's an awareness. It's a divine, it's a feeling of certainty. I cannot explain, because at first glance it would look like I can't do that, but I just know. Or whatever's happening around me, I just know. Like what's happening right now in the world, I just know it is for the highest and greatest good. There's like a faith in that because I believe in oneness, and because I live from a place of unconditioned experience and expression. So my faith is simply a knowingness, and turning it over to that. Like whenever I turn it over to faith or surrender to that expression of my highest self, there's no longer an anxiety or a nervousness. I might be scared to approach whatever it is, but the anxiety and nervousness and mistrust in my own ability to accomplish what it is I'm setting forth goes away.
Yeah. Because
I just I guess surrender is a big word around faith for me.
Yeah.
faith, trust, surrender. I remember Tammy and I, when we were trying to find a house in the Kootenays, we saw 23 horrible houses. I wouldn't let my pets live in these houses. Like floor, you could bounce in the living room and the house would shake. Like it was like, we were like, what is going on here? And so disheartened from the process that we had got scheduled 2 houses to see in one day, and we were on the way to see them. And it was like this moment of, if it's not one of these houses, I'm not looking anymore. Like I need a break. And so we did spiritual mind treatment on the way, and we said, Jesus, take the wheel. And we sang Jesus, take the wheel. I think it was actually came on the radio. Like as we were surrendering to this moment, Jesus, take the wheel came on. And I was like, okay. So we saw that the first house on the list, and we were like, oh. And then we walked into the second house, and it was owned by hoarders. It was packed to the ceilings. It was, the carport was packed to the ceilings. Like it was crazy. Floor was coming up, like the linoleum was coming up, and we walked in the house, and we were like, this is the house. And even though it looked like a mess, it had good bones.
Yeah.
And because it had good bones, it was worthy of our time, our energy, and our resources, right? And so it was on the market for one day. We bought it that day, and it was and they cleaned it out the best they could, and it was, when we sold it, worth $40,000 more than when we bought it, because it had good bones. Yeah. It was built by a carpenter, built by a Ducabor carpenter, and so the cross beams were like good bones. Yeah. So I'm not sure what the relevancy of that story was, but
faith. We were talking about faith.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So faith is having good bones and trusting those bones.
Yeah.
And whatever else is going to be revealed will be revealed.
Yeah. Yeah. Faith for me is, undoubtable knowing.
Yeah.
There's no denying in faith.
Yeah.
And so it's a state of absolute trust. And I always like to, me and my acronyms, my acronym for trust is totally reliant upon spiritual truth.
Yes.
That's how I define trust. And it's a state of faith. So, part of perhaps the exploration, as we are coming down towards the end, and I always like to give a home practice whenever I engage with people, is to start to uncover, maybe you don't use the word faith, because that can be a challenge for some people, because faith is oftentimes tied directly to religiosity. But start to go on the exploration this week and maybe keep a list of what are things that I believe, what are ideas that I hold. There's such an inward conviction within me that I don't doubt or deny, and see what comes up. See what comes up, because that for me is the way that our lives are unfolding, rooted in those points of view of faith. And you're right. You cannot strengthen your faith. Faith is.
Yeah.
It is simply, what is the direction of your faith? What are you choosing to let be undeniable in your mind?
Yeah. I have like the two Bible things in my head right now, right? Oh, ye of little faith. Right. And so and that boils down to me, like when I struggled, it was because I had no faith in myself. So as I've grown my personhood, I grow in faith, and that's not growing faith. That's shifting what I have faith in.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But so, oh, ye of little faith. And you know, when the woman was trying to get through the masses and just had this belief within her, a knowingness within her, if I just touch him, I'll be healed.
Mm-hmm.
And she works through the whole crowd and she just lays her thumbprint on his garment and she's healed.
Mm-hmm.
And he notices something shifted, because if there's healing in one, there's healing for all. So something shifted and he noticed. And he turned to this crowd and said, "Who touched me?" And everyone was like, "Oh no, someone touched him inappropriately," right? Like having that feeling. And so she came clean and said, I touched you.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, "It is your faith that has healed you."
Mm-hmm.
Right. And so those two things, if something's not working out in my life, oh honey, oh ye of little faith, and just say that to myself, oh ye of little faith, let's renew that, because you know something better, you know something way more powerful is working here. You do. And it is your faith that heals you. It is your belief and your action, your actionable expression on your belief that is healing you.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing broken in you, darling one.
No. Yeah. The scripture that always comes to mind, of course, in relationship to this topic is Hebrews 11:1. Now faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things unseen.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and again, it is a statement of, it does not require proof. It is an inner knowing so deeply, with such inner conviction that there's no denying it.
Yeah. And that that kind of conviction led me to know that, like this, I was going through stuff. So, so, you know, that, I do not need to justify or defend anything about myself. If I that's that level of faith, if I don't have to justify or defend if someone disagrees with who I am or what I've said. No, all they have, there's no other. And so if I don't need to counteract or do anything opposing their beliefs or their words. So, because justifying and defending is such an energy that I don't want to wear. I don't want to wear that.
Yeah.
Having to always justify your being. No, I've said my piece. I know who I am. And that's it.
Yeah. So it is.
And so it is. Yeah.
Yeah. Which is a statement of faith, by the way. And so it is. Amen. They are statements of faith, because it's not saying, and so it might be.
Yeah. If God feels like doing that for me today, I'll be so grateful.
If I think the right thoughts, maybe something will happen. No. Think, and it is so.
Yeah.
Believe, and it is
Ask,
so.
and it shall be given.
Yes. Knock, and the door will be open.
So 2 Fridays.
2 Fridays from today.
2 Fridays from today.
Not next Friday, but the Friday after. Guess what?
Yeah.
You can be here at Unity of Tucson in our sanctuary, and we are going to be together live.
Yes.
Reverend Steph St. Amand visiting from Winnipeg, Manitoba.
Yes.
Joining us here. We're gonna have the RANT live and in person. We are inviting people to be present as a studio audience. We will be streaming it. It'll be a live stream, as we stream every Friday. But we'd love to have you here if you're in the Tucson area. Come and join us.
Yes,
and,
absolutely.
Engage in the conversation with us.
Yeah.
Super.
We look like siblings in these pictures.
We do look like siblings. Well, you know, we are one. You and I. We are one.
You're taller than taller than my biological brother.
I am very tall. 2 inches. Yes. You know, the funny thing is, so again, I'm going to remind us that the last time you and I were physically in the same space together was 2017 in Irvine, California.
I can't believe that. I can't believe it's been that long.
And yet we chat every week, even when we weren't doing that. We've been doing weekly chats, Reverend Steph and I, for 14 years.
Getting there.
It's been so we've been doing these chats on a regular basis. Well, 2012, so 13 years.
Yeah,
that's barely when we started it. And because it's been a virtual bestie friendship, and we only see each other occasionally in real life,
Yeah.
In person in real life.
Live and in color.
I always forget how different our heights are. Because on the screen, our heads are at the same level.
Yeah. But it is significant.
It is.
It is significant. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we'll show everybody in 2 Fridays.
I think I'm nearly a foot taller than you.
Almost a foot taller than me.
Yeah. So yeah, join us for the Rant Live.
Yeah. Send in your questions and your thoughts. And because we are going to be going longer too. We're usually an hour, but we're going to go longer because it's the nature
to play itself out.
Yes.
Take the time that it takes.
Yes. Yeah. I'm going to do some labyrinth walks, and I'm going to thaw out these Canadian bones.
Yeah. It'll be a very good opportunity to thaw out because it's going to be quite warm here.
Yes.
Yes. Wear your sunscreen, though, please.
And bring it out. The shorts.
Yeah.
Okay. We made it. We made it. We chatted a whole hour.
So much. I love all of you, every single one of you.
I trust people got something out of our dialogue today. We were all over the map.
Yeah. But, the thing about the rant, it's unscripted. We literally just start and see what unfolds.
Yeah.
And you can be part of that unfoldment. So
one of the reasons we started was because we were having all of these great conversations, just you and I. We were like, we should just have this conversation live and see. Yeah. And have fun with it. And so here we go. Yeah.
So
awesome.
And we'll be back for another conversation next week. Love you all.
Bye, everybody.
Who's hitting the button?
I'll hit it.
Okay.